Let me take a personal example from when I left Baltimore. Completely, the school system was basically entirely African American. I spent the first couple of years in college in a liberal arts university. And I was then able to see what opportunity looks like for others who aren't from traditionally, highly segregated in terms of African American communities. And so that was fascinating because you have a school system in Baltimore where I was just at Green Street Academies, which is a phenomenal school in Baltimore on the west side, in which they're rationing out water, right? And this happens quite a bit in schools in Baltimore City. Rationing out water, it seems like a very basic thing.
And that's if you can even drink it.
If you can even drink it, right, if you can even drink it. So, and this is, it's 2013. So to see that, and juxtapose this with opportunities in Baltimore County, just down the road, to see what sort of opportunities are afforded to those youth, it's really heartbreaking. But my work also, I've also spent some time in Detroit recently, which as a native Baltimorean, it's always interesting to see where we could be, right? So Baltimore's an interesting place right now. It's not going to be London. A lot of people in Baltimore want Baltimore to be San Francisco, and that goes back to the racial question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot of people in Baltimore want it to be something that it will never be, and it should not be. There's a wonderful cultural identity within the city that is oftentimes ignored by folks who are clamoring for something else, right? So it's fascinating to see other cities, see the DNA of those cities, and how Baltimore is. I mean, Baltimore's a great place, has tremendous challenges, but there's also opportunities for that, for people like Wes, Lionel, and others to help solve. But every city has challenges, right? I mean, so if in San Francisco, for example, I mean, there's issues there. We have the racial question in Baltimore is so very tense. And I've seen this in other cities. Philadelphia as well as another example of a city like that I've spent some time in. And so peeling back and understanding that most of these urban communities suffer from similar issues, right? But how do we take from the lessons learned from other places and bring it back to Baltimore? That's one of the things I would say, and I'm happy that both Wes and Lionel and others have spent other time away from Baltimore, because Baltimore seems to be a place where looking past the city for ideas, and even looking within the cities for different ideas, is something that doesn't happen enough. So Lionel can come back from London, have a different cultural experience, bring that to Baltimore, spread that a little bit, or in his own thinking. And of course, Wes has been everywhere. So.
Well, no, and that's the thing, because not just I echo what both of you say, but I think also there's a psychological imprint that I think that the travel has made as well. So I think we can look at a lot of different cities, both domestically and internationally, that are setting a really interesting example. Like, we can look at the reentry, with what New York City currently is doing with reentry, which I think is actually very interesting and very compelling. We can look at some of the greening initiatives that are taking place in Denver, and also what they're doing in San Antonio. We can also look at some things that are happening in terms of mental health issues, specifically that they're doing right now in Rio de Janeiro and Brasilia, down in Brazil. I think the fact they're weaving in mental health in everything that they do is pretty fascinating, and also pretty revolutionary and remarkable.